Let's start off with our headlines in the NBA. The first thing in the NBA is the NBA draft that just wrapped up. I'll give you my winners and losers later on the episode, but first things first, Cooper Flag goes number 1 to Dallas. It was a great pick for them. A few surprise picks in there. Maybe you could say VJ Edgecombe going 3 and not Ace Bailey. Maybe the Nets taking a lot of point guards instead of a lot of big men, which might be what they need. We're going to see if they're a winner or a loser later on this episode, but the NBA draft, the 2-day event, had eyes everywhere, and I had a great time watching this NBA draft. Next thing in the NBA, Damian Lillard will have the greatest buyout in NBA history. The former biggest buyout in NBA history was $31 million. Damian Lillard's is $113 million to be waived by the Milwaukee Bucks. Huge move by the Bucks to cut Damian Lillard. But yes, they're freeing up some room and they're getting Miles Turner. But to pay Damian Lillard $113 million over 5 years to not play for you, huge deal right there. So Bucks are taking a big swing right here. We'll see if it plays out with Giannis Antetokounmpo. But when I see Miles Turner go over to the Bucks, I think, why can't the Lakers get a guy like that? The Lakers, they need a big man, and they're just flying off the board. Luke Cornett, gone. Jonas Valanciunas, gone. Clint Capella, gone. Brook Lopez, gone. Miles Turner, gone. What's going to happen for the Lakers? Is it just hey, let's run it back with Jackson Hayes? Or is it, let's get a real center? Because they're coming off the market right now, Rob Pelinka, as we speak. Time to get things moving. Next trade in the NBA that we had this week was Michael Porter Jr., a guy who at one point was considered maybe on the cusp of being a superstar, gets traded for Cam Johnson to the Brooklyn Nets. These guys play the exact same way, just different contracts. I think Cam Johnson might actually be a little bit more valuable at this point in his career than Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. has had injury after injury. He only shoots the ball, while Cam Johnson a little bit more reliable, in my opinion. But yes, Nuggets move off that contract. We'll see what he can do with the Brooklyn Nets. He's always a guy where I thought, if you gave Michael Porter Jr. his own team, he might just be a superstar. Kind of like how you saw Mikal Bridges really thrive in that Brooklyn Nets system, being their number 1 option. We can see the same with Michael Porter Jr. in Brooklyn. So excited for that trade right there. Michael Porter Jr. to Brooklyn, Cam Johnson to Denver. Switch things over to the NFL, where we had a huge trade, where Minkah Fitzpatrick is heading back to the Miami Dolphins for the second time in his career. The team that drafted him in 2017 is going to trade for him, giving up former superstar Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Now for the Dolphins, they needed a tight end after giving up Jonnu Smith. They're going to get Darren Waller out of retirement, trade for him for a 6th and the 7th round pick, and have him come to Miami. Dolphins get Waller and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Steelers get Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Switch things over to the MLB. We're going over into the end of the first half of this season. Always action-packed in MLB. Around 81 games through. But first things first, Jacob Mizorowski is bringing the Miz, and that's his nickname, Miz, because he is incredible on the mound, out-dueling Paul Skeens the other day, and still one of the best pitchers in MLB. Might just have to go up to Citi Field on Wednesday to see Jacob Mizorowski in action against the New York Mets. My New York Mets, though, are slumping. They just had their worst series in franchise history, at least run differential-wise, and a terrible sweep against Pittsburgh Pirates. None of the games were close. Speaking of the Mets, it's Bobby Bonilla Day. Yes, every July 1st until 2035, the Mets are going to have to pay former star and former really big signing bust Bobby Bonilla $1 million every year on July 1st. I think it's like his birthday. Bobby Bonilla gets a huge deferred contract where they're going to be paying him a ton of money until 2035 because the Mets couldn't pay him when they released him in 2000 after a terrible stint with the team where he was supposed to be a superstar. New York Mets decided to give him an 8% interest rate if the whole contract could be deferred until 2035. It is, and Steve Cohen is probably not happy about it because this team is slumping and Bobby Bonilla Day does not make it better. Next thing in MLB, Ronald Acuna Jr. has committed to the Home Run Derby. Ronald Acuna Jr. is coming off an injury. He's having a great season since coming back from that, and this is his way of saying, I'm back, I'm good, and I'm ready for action. Cal Raleigh is also going to be doing MLB Home Run Derby. He wants to show that he's the best hitter in the American League, that he's MVP, and he's the best hitting catcher of all time, which maybe one day, Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, could be. James Wood of the Washington Nationals is on fire right now, everybody, and it's showing. The other day, he got 4 intentional walks. The first guy for that to happen to since Barry Bonds. Now, maybe they were afraid of James Wood. Maybe they were trying to get to the next guy in the order who had 200 OPS. But the fact of the matter is, James Wood got intentionally walked 4 times the other day. First time that's happened in the MLB since Barry Bonds, everybody. And Sonny Gray had a great night on the mound the other night, throwing 89 pitches, 9-inning complete game shutout, and only giving up 1 hit. What a start that was from Sonny Gray. What a headline we had this week in sports. Things going on MLB, NFL, NBA, and a lot more. Come on this Schoolyard Sports with Lane Frank, episode 221.